Dr. Vivek, Komoda Jikuna, Mrs. Jikuna, Father, I'm not familiar with all the names and dignitaries here. Kindly excuse me for the same. And all you lovely people, ascot cars, it's a pleasure to be here today. It's a great honor. And Dr. Vivek had not told me that I'm supposed to speak. But I had been for this social many years ago when I was a student. That was, I think, so somewhere in Baikala or somewhere, I can't recollect. And I only remember a famous theatrist, a singer, the late Mrs. Antoinette. She was there and she had sung a song. So I remember that occasion, the only occasion I had attended, probably in the 80s. But it's really nice to be here, connecting with your roots. I left my village, Asnora, somewhere in the 80s when my father got transferred to Panjim. But in 90, when my father retired, we went back, but that is the time I joined the Navy. And when I took premature retirement, I settled in Chikali. That's where I think so most of the former Chief of Navy all settled there. A whole lot of Chiefs of Navies are there settled in and around. But what Dr. Vivek said is today, if I'm there in the Parliament, from the time I use different terms to say I was sent to Parliament, I reached Parliament. I have never ever said till today that I won. No, I cannot say that because it was not my victory. It was the victory of the people of Goa who are in anguish, who are in anxiety because of what is happening in Goa. And if I am there today in Parliament, it's because of the churning in the society that is happening. And I am a product of the churning in the society. The struggle that has taken place in Goa over the last few years. Today I am in a position to say, though I am also in that political circle, we are being ruled by rogues. We are being ruled by people who are thriving, surviving on the taxes they are being paid by hardworking people like you and me. And all the colleges that I am being invited, because I always feel that we have let down, even I, we have let down those people who have still not yet come into the world. Because we are not the owners of Goa or the land, we are just the custodians. The land that was protected, preserved by our forefathers. For us, somewhere we have failed, not with any ill intention. Maybe we got busy with our lives, we went our ways. Many of you all came to Bombay, some people went across the world. Maybe there was a purpose, there was a need. But somewhere our land, which I always say, is a God-gifted land. Because in my final year in the Navy, that was the time I visited the Holy Land. And what I saw, it was beautiful. But before I left Israel, I found and I reflected, Goa was much more beautiful than Israel. And I felt that is why Goa was gifted by God Himself. When we say the chosen land, land of milk and honey, what is not there in Goa? Our fields, lush green fields, our rivers, our hills, our forests, name it and we have it. And we are fortunate to have much more than what the promised land had. But because of our greed, we have sold ourselves, we have sold that land. Today, the laws that are being brought in Goa is how to sell whatever remains in Goa. And so on 15th of September 2017, when I left the Navy, I planned it from 2011 when I completed my 20 years and I was eligible for pension, which Sir Dikuna will agree. Every naval officer looks forward to that my family or anyone's family is economically stable. There's a financial security back home. And so I decided, having been in aviation, to start a second career. And fortunately, I got an opening in one of the biggest defense firms which was in the UAE. And on the verge of leaving for UAE, and my family was also supposed to join me. I lost my mother in 2009. My father was there with me. We had done all arrangements, Everything was there. And then the government operationalizes a law called Regional Plan 2021. And I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with any civil activity. I was just going for my second career. And an editor friend of mine, he was there with me in Don Bosco's in school. He said, when are you leaving? I said, I'm just waiting for my visa. He said, there's awareness program that is being held in Sada. Sada is in Mormuga, Vasco. He said, why don't you attend? I said, who's organizing? He said, some activists. I said, no, I have nothing to do with the activists. They're very indisciplined. They create problems. There are protests. I come from a disciplined background. I can't be part of it. And he said, just go and just see what they're going to show. He said, the figure that I was being offered at that time for a Fauji, it was a 7-figure thing. So for a Fauji, it was something very big. So I was leaving everything going, and here he said, just attend. He said, you learn a lot of money, come back, but Goa will not remain the same. Just for the last time, see how Goa is going to get destroyed. So I went there. There were 100 chairs. We were only 8 of us sitting there. I was the 8th person there. And what I saw, I was deeply troubled, disturbed. I came home. And I told my wife, I said, if I can delay my departure by 2 months, I'll just be part of these activities. The same ones whom an hour back I was telling that friend of mine, I said, they are indisciplined. They are always protesting. And my father was there. He said, see, your mother has been in this for a very long time. I don't want anybody else. You have a small family. I have a daughter. He said, you have decided to leave the Navy, go abroad. Please go on your way. Because this is such a movement and politics is such a thing. When you turn back, you won't find anyone at the back. You'll be alone. And I said, Daddy, just a few days. And somehow they agreed. Because I wanted a collective decision. If something goes wrong, I wanted to also ensure my father and wife are part of that blame game. So they agreed. That was somewhere on early 2018. I'm about to leave. And then I asked these activists, I said, how are you all fighting the government? How are you all fighting this politician? So they said, no, they were a group of about 10. I said, nobody else is fighting. They said, no, and they kept telling me, well, there's a group here, and there's a group in that part of the corner in Goa. And so I said, why don't you all unite? They said, we can't. They probably had differences among themselves. And I said, if you have to fight, I said, you have to unite. And I said, what is the Congress party doing? So they said, Congress party that time was in the opposition with solid 17 MLAs with 5 former chief ministers. Rane, Pratap Singh Rane, Digambar Kamath, Ravi Naik, who just passed away, Louisine Faleh, Churchy, all these were there. And the Congress party was quiet. So when they told me, I hope I'm not taking time, just the journey which has brought me. So they said, we'll have a press conference. So in my press conference, I began by attacking the Congress, the party in which I am today. I said the Congress party is supposed to be the voice of the people. As an opposition party, every opposition party in a democracy is supposed to be the voice of the people. And this voice has been shut. Probably because of whatever reasons, you know what is happening today. And then I reached out to all these organizations. I was driving away, starting in the morning, coming back late night, and I gathered all these 36 organizations under one roof, formed an umbrella organization, and coined that term on 8th of April 2018 as Going to Avaz. That means the voice of Goa. And so when the press asked her, why this name? I said, because the voice has been shut. Voice is supposed to be the opposition party. So we have become the opposition, unofficial opposition party. And we led this movement. We were arrested. You know, somebody coming from a uniform service being arrested. And there's another famous personality. I don't know if you all have heard Father Balmax Pereira. He's my parish priest. And our arrest was, we traded ourselves. There were 86 students who were detained. So we traded ourselves. I said, you all take us into custody. And that is where the battle began. And somewhere in 2021, during the movement, in the night, some youth, almost about 200 youth came, they surrounded us and they said, see, we've been following you for only one reason. You come from the defense services and we trust you. That's the trust we have said. He said, but we won't be able to come with you for any longer. I said, why? Because he said, see, if you have to throw these people out, you have to come into politics. And it took me another 3-4 months to decide. And a whole lot of people, coming and forcing, and then we took the plunge. And that election, what Dr. Vivek said, as a Fauji, I relied on my savings. And I said, I'm not going to touch my savings. And the party did not have money. If you recollect, Modi had gone after every opposition party and he had ensured that the accounts were frozen. If you recollect, just before the Lok Sabha, the party didn't have money. I had made it very clear that I'm not going to touch. I survive on my pension and I'm not going to touch that. And so when I filed my nomination, the previous day my opposition, the opponent, she had filed her nomination and she was the third richest in the country. And her assets were declared on the newspaper. So many thousand crores in India, so many thousand crores in Australia, so many crores in Singapore. These are only the bank accounts and assets everywhere. So the next day, when I filed and I came and the press asked me, and by the way, days before that, the government filed a criminal case against me because we had the biggest protest in the night against the double tracking where Adani was bringing coal and that would have destroyed, is going to destroy Goa, but the fight is on. And so they filed the case because they wanted to shut everyone who was protesting. So I was a criminal and we had to publish in the newspapers. Whoever contests, you all know as per the rules of the Election Commission, you have to declare in the newspapers 3 days in the national newspapers as well as local that yes, there's a criminal case. And so I told my party president, the last publication should be on the day I file my nomination. And so when we came out after filing nomination and the press asked the president, so I had told him to carry the newspaper. It was the Times of India. And so he displayed. He said, today we are proud as the Indian National Congress to field the criminal as the candidate for South Goa. We have taken a risk in coining that and telling the press we are fielding a criminal. And he said, why a criminal? Because he's been fighting for South Goa. And then the people took over and they asked, what are your assets? I said, my assets are these taxi drivers, the unemployed. I had nothing to declare as assets, only my pension and the saving what I had. And then that fight began. People's power versus money power. After the results, when Mr. Rahul Gandhi wanted to meet me, he called for me and he said, I've heard very interesting things about your election. He said, tell me. And I just told him, I said, sir, if one thing that can be learned from this particular election is, I would request any political science student to do research on how South Goa election was fought. It was the people who fought my election. We didn't spend a pie. I remember halfway through, my wife had to break an FD of 3.5 lakhs. Very laughable 3.5 lakhs FD. And I told the party president, I need my money back. This was my saving, I said. And after the voting, results had not come. He paid me back my 3.5 lakhs. But what came officially from the election commission is that we had spent 54 lakhs for my election, where crores and crores are spent for each constituency. It was 54 lakhs. And what was this 54 lakhs? I had not spent this 54 lakhs. In every village, the people organized themselves. They organized meetings. So they brought chairs. So each chair, the election commission charges 20 rupees. So it was calculated at so many chairs. It has so much of money has been sent, so that is put in my account. I remember in Kurturi, you must have heard of Kurturi, some activists organized a meeting. There were almost about 1,000 people came. So 20,000 for chairs. They distributed samosas and fruity. That was the simple thing what our people used to distribute. They organize and distribute these things as snacks. The total thing what the people spent, they didn't take a pie from me, was 54 lakhs. And that 54 lakhs included 1,500 paid to those two youngsters who sit at the booth on the day of polling, if you recollect, to guide the voters, inclusive of all that. And nobody is believing that 54 lakhs were paid by the people. And so we had to show that I have spent, which I had not spent. It was the people who had spent. So that is the journey. If today I give whatever I can for the people, is because there's no limit of feeling grateful to the people. I have done nothing for them, but they did everything for me. And probably they trusted me and they said, be the voice of Goa in Parliament. As I was sitting and when ma'am came, there was a call which came to me. I can just tell you, even now, there are 3 bills which have just been uploaded. That was the promise I had made to the people. Are people who have left Goa and gone for whatever, a better life in UK with a Portuguese passport, Portuguese nationality. They are always emotionally connected with Goa. So I have introduced a bill which I have promised dual citizenship for those who left Goa. We have also introduced one more bill just a few minutes back, because the window opened today morning since the notification came, was for our 6 rivers which were taken away by the BJP in November 2016 and given to the center. So return of those 6 rivers to the people of Goa. And third, which I cannot tell, which it's that crowning glory. I know it will be defeated, but that is the ultimate thing, is for saving Goa, which maybe in a few days time, you'll be coming to know. That is that whole fight for Goa, that land of milk and honey to be preserved. So thank you very much. My apologies. A little long talk, but that emotional thing, whatever we do today is only on that emotional connect and love for Goa. Thank you very much. The only thing I can ask you is pray for Goa. That's the only thing, only prayers can save Goa. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Goa.
Thank you so much, sir. Everyone on listening.